Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Tuesday the 29th of July. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Pretty straightforward stuff today. Nothing earth-shattering going on, you'll be pleased to hear. There is, however, a proof of concept exploit that has been published for the Cisco Identity Services Engine vulnerability. So the vulnerability we're talking about is CVE 2025 20281. And it is the one which, for a few weeks actually, I think. Well, there's been a lot of talk about exploits available for that. However, there is now a publicly available exploit that makes exploiting this vulnerability very straightforward for potential attackers. If you have not already addressed this vulnerability and you are still using potentially vulnerable versions of ISE, two things to remind you. One is upgrade, sort out, patch, deal with this ASAP, and or at the very least make sure you've risk assessed and that you've got suitable mitigations in place that will address the issues, address the risks of being actually attacked on this via this vulnerability. So upgrade if you can. Secondly, if you do have at-risk systems, after you have been through your risk assessment and your mitigations have not necessarily prevented attackers from accessing the machine and compromising it, you should treat devices with suspicion until proved that there has been no compromise of that particular device. So treat the devices as compromised until such a point that you are confident that they haven't been. Okay, you may have noticed that there was a global outage of GitHub on the 28th, 29th, today being the 29th, so it was kind of overnight from a UK perspective. Things are back up and running again. We don't know, the information isn't published yet as to what caused the outage, but it was pretty significant, hitting a fair proportion of requests to and from to GitHub. So, the usual sort of stuff that was being blocked, pull requests and so on and so forth. API issues. So apparently they're saying it hit approximately 4% of requests, but I think you need to take those stats with a pinch of salt. It's very difficult to be certain how much is A, true, and how much is B, what actually was going on, as opposed to what got reported or seen there. So either way, if you were part of that 4%, that could have been quite significant for you. So the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is, well, this may not have been a cyber attack. We don't know yet. It might have been, but it may not have been. My gut feeling is that it will turn out to have been something either in their infrastructure or more likely poorly executed change. Most ITIL type outages are caused by poorly executed change, by the way. It's a fact. People don't like to talk about it, but it is. Oh, by the way, I know an absolutely astonishingly good change manager who is looking to change roles at the moment. So anybody who is on the lookout for a change manager, drop me a line either via the podcast or directly, and I will put you in touch. He's a good guy. Right, so this may well be change. This outage at GitHub may well have been caused by change, or it may well have been caused by misconfiguration, blah, 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 whatever it might be, rather than cyber attack. However, the important thing to think about here is, what would you do if your access to GitHub was severely impacted? bearing in mind that criminal groups and even more so nation-state actors are looking for ways in which they can disrupt potential victims, and consequently being able to disrupt the development platforms, development life cycles of organizations is a kind of cool thing to do. So let's think of it this way. You've discovered a vulnerability in something which you believe is probably zero day. It's certainly not well known. What happens as soon as that becomes known? As soon as you use that vulnerability, as soon as you exploit it, it's out there. People can see what you're doing. So you have very small, narrow window of opportunity to exploit this new vulnerability with impunity, as it were, before everybody else starts doing it as well. And obviously, the developers, owners of the systems under attack start to develop fixes, patches, workarounds, so on and so forth for this. Well, what if in the meantime you'd managed to disrupt their development platform in such a way that they couldn't quickly and easily develop patches that address the vulnerability? Do you see where I'm going with this? As part of a sophisticated chain to prolong access and make the best use of vulnerabilities from an attacker's perspective, well, disrupting the developers that would be fixing the things is a pretty cool thing to do. So bear in mind, I won't be the only person who's thought of this. So what would you do if your development platform was made unavailable to you? And I think that is cyber strategy question of the day. And then finally from me, as a really interesting article that I read in HelpNet Security this morning that talks about the final frontier of cybersecurity is now space. Okay, well, it's a great article. If you are interested, as you, I'm sure you'll be unsurprised to hear, I'm interested in the geopolitical side of cybersecurity as much as the deeply technical side of cybersecurity. There are things about cybersecurity in space that are much harder to deal with as a defender than cybersecurity pretty much anywhere else. And the key one being that once you've sent something into space, you can't do much with it. Your opportunities for fixing flaws in hardware or software are significantly more limited than they are if these systems you're dealing with are physically located somewhere where you can at least get good connectivity to them and get access to them whenever you need them. Bearing in mind that satellites, things in space, generally have a lifespan of 15 to 20 years. Okay, well, let's take that back to in 2005. How many systems have we got from 2005 that are, or even 2010, that are still secure without having had to have had major upgrades, changes, whatever it may be? And I think the answer is there might be some stuff out there. It's probably pretty niche and hasn't been targeted, so we probably don't know about what the vulnerabilities are. Bearing in mind that 20 years ago, encryption algorithms were nothing like as strong as they are now. I've been through the whole DES, triple DES, AES, whatever, blah, 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 migrations over the years. What is considered secure now, I really don't think you could have much confidence that it will be secure in 15 or 20 years' time without making changes to it. And we're on the verge of quantum encryption or quantum computing being used to attack encryption, rendering almost all current commonly used encryption algorithms obsolete. do you have confidence that if you're relying on satellite systems, those satellite systems are going to remain up to date for the next 20 years? Do you think that your provider is going to be, or if you are a provider, do you think that you are going to be able to swap out AES 256 for some post-quantum encryption algorithm on the fly successfully to something that's in space, where if you lose communication to it, it is gone. You can't go up to it and press the reset button. I think we can also be pretty certain that space being a borderless environment with many competing countries looking to have a strong presence in space, it will become an area to target. You can be. I would not bet my house because I need to live in it, but I would nearly bet my house that the Chinese are in the background looking at ways in which they can disrupt US satellite-based communications. Starlink is amazing. How secure is it? How much should you rely on it? It's fine when the world's a nice place and everybody's being, smiley and happy to each other. What happens if that's not the case? What would happen if satellite communications were knocked out? And it doesn't have to be that some other government decides to take over and become dominant. They simply may want to remove the availability of using space from my perspective, from Western nations, and what impact would that have? So it's good to see that there are some moves at the national and the international level around ensuring that we understand cybersecurity in some of these critical infrastructure type environments. The EU NIS2 directive is pretty cool. There are various other things depending on whereabouts in the world you are, but we still live in a very fragmented space here. So what can we do about this? Well, we're not busily developing or supporting or we're using, because everybody is, stuff in space, but we're not directly involved in the path to secure it. However, what we can do is look at what would the impact be if some of this stuff got hit. What would our contingency plan be if satellite communications were knocked out? Needs to be part of that risk assessment, I would suggest. Anyway, have a read. It makes for interesting reading. If you care about, I think we all should care about these things, but then that's just me, isn't it? So that is all for today. Hope you